Raylan had repaired a lot of unfortunate ships in his life, but the drifting cruiser before him looked like it had woken up one morning, sighed, and given up on existence entirely. Its hull was scorched, windows shattered, and its stabilizers flickered like a drunk firefly. The only reason Raylan flew toward it instead of away was because salvage law said he could claim whatever was inside. And Raylan, despite everyone's suspicions, genuinely liked food and oxygen enough to need money. His small shuttle shuddered as he docked at the derelict's airlock. "If this thing explodes," he muttered, "I swear I'll haunt whoever designed it." The shuttle, in reply, beeped a warning about structural instability. "Yes, thank you," I noticed. The interior was worse. Lights flickering, smoke curling along the ceiling, and the unmistakable scent of burnt circuitry mixed with despair. Raylan swept his wristlight across the corridor. No bodies, no movement, but a faint humming somewhere deeper inside. He followed it cautiously, boots crunching over debris. The hum grew clearer, a containment pod still powered. That alone was strange. Everything else looked as dead as a meteor. As Raylan approached, the pod's interface struggled to life, flickering between alien symbols and a universal distress icon. Inside, curled in a tight defensive shape, was a woman. Almost human. Almost. Her ears were long, elegant arcs sweeping backward like sculpted crescents. Her hair floated slightly, reacting to the static charge in the chamber, and faint iridescent lines shimmered along her skin with each breath, patterns that seemed to shift depending on her heartbeat. Raylan blinked. "Well, you're definitely not standard cargo." He tapped the console. The pod hissed open with a dramatic exhale that made him jump. The woman snapped upright so fast he nearly screamed. Her eyes, bright, sharp, too aware, locked onto him with fear so palpable he stepped back by instinct. "Don't punish me," she blurted, bowing her head. I didn't mean to sleep so long, please, I'll serve." "Whoa." Raylan raised both hands. "Let's start with, I don't punish, I do own, and I absolutely do not need anyone serving me. I can barely manage my own life." She looked up slowly, confusion flickering across her features along with a faint glow at the edges of her ears. It pulsed like a warning light, or maybe embarrassment. "You are not my master?" she asked cautiously. "Pretty sure I'm no one's master," he said. "I can't even get my coffee machine to respect me." The glow on her ears softened, though the fear in her eyes remained. "My name is Sana," she whispered. "Raylan," he replied. "And we should get out of here before this ship remembers it's in a plasma storm." That got her attention. She scrambled out of the pod too quickly, stumbling into him. Her skin was warm and the glowing lines brightened as she steadied herself. Raylan tried not to look surprised, but Sana must have interpreted his expression as displeasure because she immediately attempted to kneel. "Nope." He grabbed her gently by the shoulders and pulled her upright. "Standing is good. Standing is excellent. Let's do standing. I was trained to kneel when I—" "Not doing that. New rule. No kneeling, no bowing, no calling me master. My ego will explode, and trust me, no one wants that." She hesitated, then nodded. A tiny, uncertain thing, but hers. They moved through the ruined corridor together, Raylan guiding her with caution and Sana following with a strange mix of fear and curiosity. Every loud groan of stressed metal made her flinch. Every spark made her leap behind him. He didn't mind, until a particularly loud bang made her grab his arm and cling like a terrified vine. "That was just a panel collapsing," he assured. "See, totally normal." "It sounded like an attack," she whispered. "If someone is attacking this thing, they have terrible aim." Her glowing ear-tips flickered, and Raylan realized she was trying not to smile. As they approached the docking hatch, a tremor rippled through the ship. The cruiser lurched sideways, sending Raylan into a wall and Sana into him. They tumbled in an undignified heap. "Is this part of the escape?" she asked breathlessly. "No," Raylan groaned, peeling himself off the floor. "This is gravity giving up." They scrambled into the shuttle just as another tremor shook the cruiser. Raylan slammed the door shut and launched away, engines roaring against the unstable pull of the storm. Sparks erupted behind them as the derelict ship finally lost its battle with physics. Sana clutched the seat, eyes wide. "We survived." "Probably," Raylan said. "I give it a 70% chance." 70. "I like to stay realistic." She stared at him in disbelief, then very slowly her ear tips glowed again. "You are different. I get that a lot. And you rescued me. I just couldn't leave you in there," he said lightly. "Plus, I need someone to blame when the ship inevitably breaks down again." Her glow brightened, shy, uncertain, but there. For the first time since waking, Sana looked less like someone expecting punishment, and more like someone learning what freedom might feel like. Sana spent her first full day aboard Raylan's ship perched on the edge of a chair like she was afraid it might bite her. She kept glancing around the cabin with wary fascination, her long ears twitching at every beep, click, and mechanical sigh. Raylan tried very hard to pretend he wasn't watching her, but it was difficult when she flinched every time he moved even slightly. "You don't need permission to sit normally," he said as he set a bowl of steaming ration stew on the table. "It's a chair, not a throne." She straightened her spine instantly as if he had issued a command. "Yes, Raylan, I will sit normally." Then she sat even stiffer than before. He sighed. "We'll work on that definition of normal." Her ear tips glowed a soft, embarrassed pink. Eating went only slightly better. Sana examined the spoon with suspicion, sniffed the stew like it might declare war on her, and finally took a tentative sip. Her expression transformed, hesitation melting into surprise. "This is good," she said softly. Raylan blinked. "It's not bad." "No, it tastes like warmth." "That's new. Usually it tastes like disappointment and ashes." She stared at him, confused. "Your humor is very difficult to understand. You get used to it, or you don't, and you just judge me silently. I have noticed you encourage judgment. I'm very self-aware." Her glow flickered again, an almost smile she tried to hide by lifting the bowl. For a few hours things were calm. Too calm, Raylan thought, which meant inevitably his ship decided to malfunction. The smell of ozone hit before the alarm did. A shrill, complaining wail filled the cabin. "Oh great," Raylan muttered. "The fusion coils are overheating again. Perfect timing." Before he could stop her, Sana stood so fast her chair toppled. "I will fix it," she said, determination hardening her features. "No, no, no, wait. Too late." She darted to the engine bay, moving with practiced precision but absolutely no understanding of safety. By the time Raylan caught up, she was standing over an open panel holding a fusion torch. A lit fusion torch. "Put that down," he yelped, nearly tripping over a crate. "You said it was overheating. I will reduce the temperature." She lifted the torch as if about to perform engine surgery with all the confidence of someone who had only seen repairs done by very angry people. "That's a torch, not a cooling tool," he exclaimed. "You'll blow us into tiny pieces, and not even cool-looking pieces." Sana froze. The glowing lines on her skin flickered wildly. "I misunderstood." "Yeah, just a bit." He gently pried the torch from her hands, set it aside, and closed the panel before the ship decided to explode out of pure frustration. Sana slowly lowered her gaze. "I failed." "No," Raylan said, softening. "You were trying to help. Helping is good, exploding is bad. Your instructions were unclear. They were literally, 'Don't touch anything.'" She blinked. "Then your instructions were too vague." Raylan pinched the bridge of his nose. He couldn't argue with that. He had once again been defeated by logic. Later, after he manually cooled the coils without explosions, one of his proudest achievements, he found Sana sitting again at the edge of her seat, staring at her hands. "You okay?" he asked. "I thought freedom would feel different," she admitted quietly. "I thought I would know what to do, but everything is unfamiliar. My choices feel like traps and I keep failing you." "You haven't failed me," he said firmly. "Trust me, if anyone's failing anyone here, it's me. I've almost killed us with my cooking twice." Her ears twitched. "Only twice." "Maybe 3, 4 if you count the pancake incident." A spark of amusement lit her eyes despite herself. But, he continued, freedom isn't about doing everything right. It's about trying things, messing up, learning, and not blowing up my ship. She nodded solemnly. I will avoid explosion. That's all I ask. The rest of the journey was quiet until the proximity alarm blared, a deep, urgent tone that never meant anything good. Raylan checked the scanner. Ah, great. Bounty hunters. Sana stiffened instantly. For me. Probably. I'm flattered they didn't come for my unpaid parking fines, though. I am dangerous to you, she whispered. They will capture you, too. Not likely. They take one look at my face and realize I'm not worth the ammo. She didn't laugh, but her ear tips glowed softly in disbelief. Raylan switched the ship to evasive mode, which mostly meant weaving erratically and hoping the hunters assumed he was too unpredictable to bother with. Meanwhile, Sana clung to the co-pilot handle, eyes wide. We're going to crash, she said. Nope, this is extremely professional flying. A blast shook the hull, sparks flew from the ceiling. Is this part of the plan, she asked. No. This is gravity and physics bullying me. Raylan activated a hologram emitter, projecting a fake ship signal, a trick so old it probably had dust on it. The bounty hunters confusedly chased the decoy as Raylan plunged the real ship into a dense asteroid field. Sana held her breath the entire time, gripping the seat like it was the last stable object in existence. Finally, after a series of maneuvers Raylan would later describe as completely intentional, and everyone else would describe as reckless screaming, they slipped free. Silence returned. Sana slowly exhaled. You saved me again. Hey, he said lightly. I said no kneeling. I never said anything about dodging missiles. Her ears glowed, brighter this time, warmer. Raylan, she said softly, I feel different around you. He tried to pretend his heart didn't trip over itself. That's probably just motion sickness. But she shook her head, and the glow flowing along her skin was no longer fear. For the first time, she wasn't clinging to him out of terror. She was choosing to stay close. The journey to the Vihalaris system felt different from everything that had come before. Maybe it was because Sana no longer sat rigidly, waiting for permission to exist. Now she moved freely through the ship, touching the walls, asking questions, even teasing Raylan whenever he made a questionable engineering choice, which was often. The glow of her long ears had softened from fear into something warmer, brighter, and it followed her like a quiet halo as they prepared for what came next. The Vihalaris system was the center of the personal servant trade that had taken her freedom. Raylan had no interest in flying anywhere near it, but Sana insisted, not out of obligation, but because she wanted to dismantle the system that had controlled her life. She said it with a steady voice and straight shoulders, and Raylan realized she was no longer the trembling person he'd rescued from a pod. She had grown into someone who could stand tall in the dark and not bow to it. You're sure about this? He asked as their ship drifted toward the station orbiting the central world. Its metal wings glowed with control grid energy, a web of red lines that monitored all incoming traffic. Yes, Sana said. I know how they think, and I know how to make them stop. She paused, then glanced sideways at him. Also, I know you brought duct tape, so we are clearly prepared. It's multi-purpose, he argued. Advanced technology. Raylan, she said with mock solemnity, it is tape. He opened his mouth to argue, then stopped. Fine, but it's very good tape. The moment they docked, the station's sensors scanned them. Raylan held his breath, expecting alarms, sirens, maybe spontaneous combustion, but instead the display flickered. The control system was glitching, thanks to the tiny malware packet Sana had slipped into their docking signature. She stepped off the ship with confidence, her iridescent patterns glowing faintly beneath her clothes. Raylan followed, half impressed, half terrified. The corridors were cold, metallic, perfectly ordered, everything designed to control and monitor. Sana walked without hesitation, navigating turns and checkpoints as if retracing old scars. When they reached the central command hub, Two guards blocked their path. Raylan tensed, already preparing an excuse that would probably end with him being punched, but Sena lifted her chin. "I request audience with Overseer Jarak," she said. The guards laughed. One gestured mockingly at her ears. A servant making requests. Raylan had to grip the strap of his bag to avoid punching him. Sena didn't flinch. "I am no one's servant now, and your system is collapsing." The guard opened his mouth to retort, but the lights above them flickered, systems faltering as Sena's malware spread. Doors locked and unlocked randomly. Monitors warped. A low alarm began to pulse. Raylan leaned toward the guards and whispered, "She's very talented, and honestly, I'm just here for emotional support." They were let through. Inside the command hub, Overseer Jarak stood surrounded by hollow screens flickering with distorted code. His face twisted when he saw Sena, recognition and fury mingling. "You," he spat. "I should have erased your coordination band the moment you hesitated." Sena didn't bow, didn't flinch, didn't glow with fear. Instead, she stepped forward with a calmness that made Raylan strangely proud. "You taught obedience," she said. "You taught fear. You taught silence. But you never taught us how to live, and now everyone you tried to control will know it." Raylan activated his portion of the plan, a device so cobbled together even he wasn't sure what half the wires did. It pulsed, unleashing a burst of interference that severed control channels across the station. Jarek's network collapsed in seconds, screens died, restraint fields disengaged. Sena turned to him, whispering, "Your tape held." "Miraculously." "What does that mean?" "I don't know, let's hope it keeps holding." Chaos erupted. The station's enslaved workers, suddenly freed from electronic suppression, broke out of their controlled routines. Some cried, some collapsed, some shouted. Sena stood among them like a flame igniting dry branches. Others recognized her, remembered her, followed her lead. "It's over," Raylan told her softly. "No," she said, watching the freed workers with a trembling glow along her ears. "It's beginning." They escorted Jarak out. He was too stunned to resist. Raylan was tempted to give a dramatic speech, but Sena simply looked at the man who once owned her and said, "I choose my life now." It was an ending sharper and more powerful than anything else. Hours later, back on the ship, the station shrinking behind them, Sena stood in the cockpit. The glow in her ears shimmered gently, no longer a warning but a reflection of quiet emotion she didn't try to hide. "You kept your promise," she said. "You helped me be free." "You did most of the work," he replied. "I mostly held wires together with adhesive optimism." She stepped closer. "You gave me choice. That is more than freedom." Raylan swallowed. "So, where do you want to go now?" Sena looked out at the stars, no fear, no hesitation. "Somewhere I choose, with someone I choose." Her ears glowed warmly as she met his eyes. Raylan felt something shift in his chest, an emotion he couldn't dodge with jokes or duct tape. "Then, I hope you choose me," he said, voice soft. "I already have." She reached out, took his hand, and the warmth of her glowing patterns flowed like a quiet sunrise between them. Together, they set the course into open space, not escaping anymore, not running, but simply moving forward. A beginning made by their own choices, bound not by fear or rescue, but by the gentle, growing love they had built step by step in the light of freedom.